And we're going to start with Dallas as a team relying too heavily on a rookie center. Now, this was one of my main concerns about the Mavs in the offseason was just how much they were asking of Dereck Lively as a rookie center.
Yeah.
It felt like so much of the defensive ceiling of this team was resting on his shoulders. And given his time at Duke, it was unclear how much he was going to contribute offensively out of the gate. I mean, it took him, half the season at Duke to really start looking like that lottery prospect.
Yep.
Well, as it turns out, one of his teammates at Duke was not Luka Doncic, and that really helps. So we get to game one against the Spurs. It's Wemby's debut. And surprisingly, Dereck Lively, he doesn't start, despite starting all 4 preseason games. A little bit of a surprise. He does end up playing 12 minutes in that first half, and then he starts the second half, ends up playing 31 minutes, finishes with 16 and 10 on 7 of 8 shooting, game high plus 20. Now, listen, with all these takes, Andrew, it's one game. But the reason I think I might be rethinking my feelings about the Mavs is just how good he looked, specifically in his offensive role. Like the
Yeah.
putbacks, the lobs, the instant chemistry with Luka, just being able to go up and get anything Luka threw up there. The overall energy he brought to the court for the Dallas Mavericks in game one. He looked like a fully formed version of the player Dallas wants and needs him to be offensively in game one. And so I'm looking at that and I'm starting to rethink the Mavs a little bit because if I'm not expecting Dereck Lively to average 16 and 10, but if he can be just a solid NBA player, which I kind of already am feeling kind of confident about, maybe I need to be a little bit higher on the Mavs. Because in the preseason, the Western Conference is so tough to predict. And you got to choose some teams to be bad, either falling out of the play-in altogether or ending up at 9 and 10. And I had kind of just always defaulted to the Mavs just because I didn't like what I saw from Luka and Kyrie last year. I had big concerns about the defense, which wasn't really good last year. They're bringing in some new pieces that I like, but I just didn't know how it all come together. And at least for that one night, it looked really good. And the piece that I was kind of most concerned about, how much can Dereck Lively give right off the bat, it looked pretty good, Andrew.
Yeah, and they really needed him to step up. I mean, they started Derrick Jones Jr. as one of their bigs, along with Grant Williams, and Dwight Powell was out with an illness. They're just going to refuse to play Rashawn Holmes, I guess. Who is just I don't really know what's going on there, to be honest.
He was so good once upon a time.
I know, I thought so too. And Dereck Lively's stepped in and played the role that they needed him to play. Now, there's also an element of how prepared were the San Antonio Spurs for Dereck Lively II.
Oh,
probably not super prepared. There's not a real scouting report on a lot of rookies through the first few weeks of the season. When there's a scouting report on him, I want to see what it looks like.
So you're not rethinking yet.
I'm not rethinking it yet. I think he had a great debut. I think he's going to be a good pro. Is he going to make this impact on a nightly basis? I want to wait and see before I'm saying I feel really good about it. They're still going to play a lot of Dwight Powell when it comes down to it. They'll play Maxi Kleber. They'll play Grant Williams. Like those 3 bigs are going to play a lot. Derrick Jones Jr. is going to play. They're going to play those guys a lot. And I want to see what it looks like when Dwight Powell is healthy and they have like more of a solid rotation in there. They needed Dereck Lively II in this game against the Spurs, and he showed up in a big way. Do they rely on him still when Dwight Powell is in the mix? I want to know. I think they should because he's the future, and you need young players to develop alongside Luka. So I really think they should. But I also want to see when all those guys are available, what are they doing? Because I think that maybe Derrick Jones Jr. goes to the bench and they kind of play a jumbo lineup, but it's probably like Kleber going to the bench. And then Dwight Powell starting. And then Kleber's coming off the bench. Does that mean how many minutes for Dereck Lively? I just want to see what it looks like when they're all there.